Ladies and gentlemen, we have some news on this lovely Tuesday. We've got Pirates of the Caribbean back on the table. We have Saturday Night Live turning 50 years old and hungry for money. And we've got Kraven the Hunter pushed back yet again. Let's get into it. All right, guys. So first and foremost, as always, make sure to go to criticless.com. Go ahead and create you an account. If you are not familiar with us, we are an entertainment reviewing platform for talking about movies and TV shows. You can find us in the Apple or Android stores for your app, or you can just go to criticless.com. But make sure to just hop in, create an account, and come say hi and leave some reviews. But on to the news. So if you have not seen, it is on every news outlet right now, is that they are once again talking about rebooting Pirates of the Caribbean. And as I was digging through this, it was just kind of odd because I'm like, wait, Pirates of the Caribbean was in the news recently and they caught a whole lot of flack and then it disappeared. And now we're back talking about Margot Robbie for the umpteenth time. And as you see here, it says Pirates of the Caribbean producer hopes to make both reboot and Margot Robbie film. So that's what's interesting here is that they're talking about actually two separate Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And it sounds like they are really trying to fully reboot the franchise, but then also do this lady Pirates of the Caribbean movie that's a totally different vibe. And so kind of just to dig into the article here, what it says is when we last heard of Pirates of the Caribbean, the franchise seemed astray in wayward waters, with Margot Robbie planning to star this reboot. But now what's happening is that Jerry Bruckheimer is talking about these movies again, basically. And he talks specifically with Entertainment Weekly and is saying that basically it is two different movies. The first is the reboot he's planning to produce with his young woman and the sea scribe Jeff Nathanson writing the script, and the second is the one from Margot Robbie's camp that was pinned by Christina Hodson from Birds of Prey, which also starred Margot Robbie. It says, we hope to get them both made, and I think Disney agrees they really want to make a Margot Robbie one too, Bruckheimer says. So this is odd. First and foremost, I mean, and they actually pointed out in the Geeks and Gamers article where they're talking about this as well, is that like it or not, this franchise is not a thing without Captain Jack Sparrow. Everybody loves him and everybody loves Johnny Depp, regardless of what happened before. And they just want him back in this series. So first off, you're talking about a reboot of this series without him, which just sounds like a complete and total problem. Does not sound like a smart move for them at all. Now, a minute ago, I mentioned that they were in the news not long ago and they tried to just make it disappear. So what it was is a leak came out that they were planning on doing Pirates of the Caribbean 6 and that Ayo Edebiri was going to be supposedly replacing Jack Sparrow. Now, then that kind of changed a little bit, but if you're not familiar with who she is from the show The Bear, and I really like her in that show. She does a great job, but the thing is that this just continues to be a theme within Hollywood is of one replacing characters. But the interesting thing about this news is that what had come out was that she was supposedly going to play Anne Bonny, who was an actual historical figure, and she was a redheaded woman that was an actual pirate. But yet this casting news was actually for a black woman to play this character, which seems to be what happens over and over and over again in Hollywood lately, is that redheaded characters get completely nuked off the face of the planet and then they replace them with a black actor or actress. It's just a very weird trend, and you can go down some rabbit holes on the internet and see how many times this has happened, especially in comic book related things, and it's getting to the point where it seems extremely obvious. So anyways, they announced this news and they tried to act like people freaking out wasn't a big deal. But once again, this is, rewriting the historical figure, and why do this whole race swap thing for this redheaded character when you just don't really need to? But also, like, why replace Johnny Depp? But now it sounds like it's just going a totally different direction, where we are not only, replacing Johnny Depp, it's just a full-blown reboot that's not a lady pirate movie, and then also a Margot Robbie, trying to just ride that Barbie train and do this. But the thing is what Hollywood has not seemed to figure out yet is that, for one, with these action franchises like this, when they do these all-girl reboots like they did with with Ghostbusters, they tank and people don't like them. And for some reason, Disney is hell-bent on doing this. I don't really understand it. And it's like, just give the people what they want. You don't need to reboot it. You just bring Jack Sparrow back. You could even bring some of the other original cast back, and we're freaking off to the races. Like this, it would be perfect, and everybody would love it. And you have Orlando Bloom in there, possibly even Keira Knightley, and just continue this series, maybe even in a soft reboot form or something, and just have these characters back. But this just all around seems like a bad idea. You're already talking about like a cash grab type thing of like this Margot Robbie movie and then the other reboot. So it's just, I feel like I'm almost wondering if this is Jerry Bruckheimer coming out in public saying what's happening behind the scenes and letting people like seeing what people say. Because as with the Anne Bonny thing, there was a ton of backlash and it disappeared. It fell out of the news. Nobody's talking about it anymore. Now, technically it was a rumor, but it came from some credible sources and it just really sounded sketchy. So they totally dropped that. And I'm just wondering if they're pivoting back to Margot Robbie and, it's like, oh, well, no, she was going to play Anne Bonny and we're going to dye her hair red, and maybe that's the case. But it's just, this just all feels like a bad idea and cash grabby, and people are not going to like it. And, people have a lot of nostalgia for this franchise, and this could once again be Hollywood and Disney especially just trying to burn another franchise to the ground. It does not make sense. I don't understand why they're doing this, why you're talking about 2 movies at one time, and why you're trying to make both of these things happen. It just, people don't show up for the types of films that they are trying to push right now, and it's not making sense to me. So look, hear me out, Disney. Just do the smart thing. Bring back Johnny Depp. Give us what we want. Give us Johnny Depp. Give us him drinking booze and stumbling around as Jack Sparrow. That's all anybody wants. We don't need a Margot Robbie movie. We don't need any of it. We just want Jack. So just give that a go. Now, the next little bit of news I was going to talk about, which is technically not something I would normally talk about, but it's really weird and it's in every outlet, is that apparently SNL is turning 50. Now, it's starting to feel like it's 50 years old and has for the past 10 years or so, because no one gives a rat rears in about SNL anymore. Nobody cares because it's not funny. Now, the interesting thing, and part of why I wanted to bring this up, is it has seemed like of late, very recently, they have gotten a little bit of their mojo back. I've been seeing some clips come out that are actually kind of funny. And, they did the Beavis and Butthead thing recently. If you have not seen it, I would recommend watching it. It is actually legitimately funny. And it's the first funny thing that I have seen come out of SNL in ages, which they, like all of media and all of late night television, became absolutely possessed and obsessed with Trump and could not stop talking about him for like 10 years or so, and it just made their stuff suck and it's not interesting. But recently they've started getting a couple edgier comedians on and starting to just have a little bit more fun, get less political, and maybe the show is finding its footing again. Congratulations. But the weird thing about this is that it's their 50th anniversary, and clearly they think that it's going to be a big deal, which I am skeptical about, to say the least. But I don't know very many people at all who, 1, watch Saturday Night Live, and 2, think that it's funny. It used to be back in the day. It's not anymore. I'm sorry. It's just not. But what this article is about and what they're talking about is the fact that it is their 50th series or season, and that they are talking to a whole bunch of advertisers like Allstate, L'Oreal, T-Mobile, Volkswagen, all of these companies, to basically line them up to sponsor the next season. And I guess that they're doing a 3-hour premiere special on Sunday, February 16th. And so it's a little ways away, but basically they're just gearing up for this 50-year anniversary, which just seems really odd because there is no real fervor around this show. As far as I know, younger folks don't really watch it. Like, it just, unless they are trying to continue this push to becoming culturally relevant again, which, kudos on you. Maybe you want to get edgy. Maybe you want to ride the line and skewer both sides of the political aisle and, just actually be funny. Great. Do it. But this does seem odd, and it makes me think that maybe they are gearing up to kind of try and rebrand at this 50th season. So I'm going to keep my eye on SNL and see if they start putting out funnier clips and actually being interesting over the next years, over the next upcoming months until this 50th anniversary happens. I am just curious about it. And this just seems really odd that every outlet is running an article right now about how they are trying to get advertisers. It just kind of feels like they've paid these outlets to do this and be like, hey, by the way, anybody else want to give money to SNL for their 50th anniversary? It's just very strange. And so I wanted to talk about it. Now, the last little bit of news is about Kraven the Hunter. Now, if you are not familiar with Kraven the Hunter, he is a big buff stud from Spider-Man, and he likes killing animals. And he thinks that Spider-Man is an animal, and he wants to hunt Spider-Man and catch him. And that's exactly what this movie is supposed to be about, is Kraven the Hunter. But this is part of the weird Sony Spider-Verse-ish thing that no one really knows what Sony is doing, and Sony doesn't know what Sony's doing. If you are familiar with Madam Web, which pretty much everybody is for all the wrong reasons, it's part of this, maybe. And then there was the Venom movie. They're like trying to make villains happen as heroes, but not. And that's kind of the thing with this movie. Now, I will say, out of all these movies, this one has my interest the most, partially just because Aaron Taylor Johnson is in it, and he has been on a roll lately and is just killing it. Also, he looks pretty awesome as this character. The other little tidbit that I think interested most people is just the fact of how they are handling this, which is that it's going to be rated R. And none of the other Spider-Man movies, connected movies that aren't really actually connected to Spider-Man, is that they aren't R. This one is actually supposed to be R. Now, the weird thing is, and I did some hunting, and in this article, IGN talks about it, but basically they've announced that it's gotten pushed back all the way to freaking December. The movie's pushed back to December. And so the crazy thing is that this has been pushed back multiple times now. So what it says is Sony Pictures has revealed in April that Kraven the Hunter has shifted from August 30th, which was coming up, to December 13th. That's right, December. Now, do you guys think this sounds like a Christmas movie? To me, this does not seem like a Christmas movie. A rated R, not quite Spider-Man movie. I'm not. That's not screaming Christmas to me. This seems like a really weird move, and this is officially announced. So, like, I doubt they're gonna walk it back any. Now, I could maybe see releasing this in like October or somewhere kind of interesting, and maybe gravitating around that Halloween time. Maybe there could be something cool to do with it there, but this just does not make sense to me. And so it says that they've explained why the film's release date has changed again, telling Collider it was a strategic move by the studio that underscores its faith in the project. And to me, yes, it makes it seem like you guys just keep moving this thing around and you're not confident in it. Now, what it says is Kraven moved to Christmas because we're excited about it. And Christmas is the best release period there is. When you get people with time to go back to the movies over and over again, Tomlich said, shedding some light on the latest shift. That was a real reflection of how the studio felt about the movie. We're really excited, and that's a great movie. That's a great movie that reflects just the feeling about the movie. That's a weird mouthful there. But so I find this odd and don't buy it. It doesn't line up with the type of movie this is. Part of me is wondering if they are looking at the current box office numbers and are seeing that bigger, better movies are coming out right now and are not doing the numbers they should be doing. And so they're trying to get away from that. That's kind of what it feels like to me. This is just very odd. I mean, I thought that the trailer actually looked kind of cool to the point in which I was like watching it and then stopped because I was like, I actually think I want to watch this movie. I don't want it spoiled. So, I mean, but the fact is that Sony originally scheduled it for January 13th, 2023. Yes. That was almost a year ago that it was originally supposed to come out, but later bumped it to October 6th, 2023, without explanation. Then there were all the strikes and everything with Screen Actors Guild, and then they pushed it to August 30th, 2024. So now they are pushing it again to December. This movie has been jumped around so many times, it's borderline like they're shelving it. I mean, this is wild and really weird, and I do not understand what is happening. I mean, I hate it for everybody involved with the movie, and I just don't really understand this, and I think that they are going to be sending it to die in December. It just doesn't make sense, and this doesn't, I mean, maybe people will go back again and again to watch this, but that doesn't line up to me and seems a little odd. So I guess, so right now it says releasing in December means Kraven the Hunter will now arrive in theaters in the same month as Lord of the Rings, The War for Rohirrim. Yep, that I said that right. That was right on the first try, which is December 13th. And I think that this is an animated Lord of the Rings movie, which is going to be interesting. We don't know a whole lot about it yet. And then Mustafa the Lion King, which this movie I think is going to absolutely freaking tank, because why are we getting a Mufasa movie? I don't even understand. And that's December 20th. And then Sonic the Hedgehog 3 on December 20th as well. And then Robert Edgar's Nosferatu, which is the thing I'm going to see. I can go ahead and guarantee you that on December 25th, which also seems like a really weird Christmas movie. And I'm wondering if this is going to get bumped as well. This is a stacked month, clearly. Like, why are you going to be going up against all this stuff? This does not make sense. What are you doing? But also, this is Sony, and they seem to be really dumb at planning things and even having anything to do with Spider-Man because they just keep screwing it up. So this is just really weird, and I don't get it. And Sony, get your crap together because this is dumb. But guys, it has been a fun one. I have some big news. You will not be seeing me for the next 2 days. It will be a surprise. I'm not going to say anything about it. We are still doing news. Do not run away. Make sure to come back tomorrow for the surprise and see what is happening on Criticless Cast News. And not only that, but make sure to see what is happening on Criticless Cast Unhinged this week as well. No spoilers, though. So, guys, it's been fun, and I will see you again on Monday. Keep it real.